Well, here we are. First look at the rain. I'm terrible at this racetrack at the best of times.
Behind.
But I have to admit,
Take care.
they've done a pretty good job of putting this rain and wet addition together. I've done half a lap of this track today, and I thought, you know, this is pretty good. As I say, I hopeless on this track at the best of times in any car, because I just can't remember where the turns are and what they do and what gear I'm supposed to be in and where I should be on a racetrack. I'm pretty impressed with the puddling and the way they've got the water laying on the road where you would expect the water to be laying on a road. Also the water running across the road from the hill. Sitting in behind this Toyota, you get a bit of an idea of how much extra spray comes out when they cross those puddles. You got to pick a different line, so you're concentrating on not only where the track actually goes, which is my biggest problem, but where you're going to get the best drive, the less puddles, and that's not necessarily on your normal racing line. As you come up behind a car that's in front of you and you get their spray, again, to see where you're going, you're going to need to pull out of that drying line, or not as wet line. You'll see here there's water laying on the side of the road, so if you touch that, it will throw you sideways. I had to go at that earlier, and it will unsettle the car as it would a normal car, a real car. So they've done a good job of it. I'm not losing a lot of frame rate. I expected to lose a lot more. I normally run around here in 130s, 120s, 140s with all that's going on in the scenery, and I got it all turned up fairly high. It's not bad. You see what I mean? You get in behind him, you've got to pull out. You get right in behind him, you see nothing. You really got to pick your way between the puddles and the drier part of the road, I suppose, where there's not as much water laying, and he's been caught out. It doesn't take much. Get caught out on one of those puddles and you're in trouble. So you can tell by the tone on the road as to where the water is its heaviest, and the shinier it gets, the deeper the water. It's as simple as that. So they've thought of everything. Now as far as the wipers go, you see what I mean by the water running down the hill there? Very clever. Very clever indeed. You can see why we pay the dollars for this simulator. You know, I've heard people complain about having to pay for it every year and all the rest of it, but when you get something like this, which would have had to have taken many hours to try and get it right, you can sort of appreciate it. And they've got to get a return on that investment. People that design these things don't come cheap. So you see that, you can't really miss that puddle there. I'm being a little bit ginger because I don't know the racetrack. You get thrown to the left there a little bit. So I don't know the racetrack. I'm terrible on this racetrack, but it is a good decision they've made to put us on here for a little practice in week 13 with various cars. I'll pick the Ferrari for now because I'm comfortable in the Ferrari, but I don't have any extra lag and I'm not losing any frame rate, so congratulations to iRacing for that. That has been a discussion from people who weren't in the know that could become a problem. and it's not a problem. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed. And I thought, well, I'll pass this straight on with a couple of people that do watch my little bits and pieces and put your mind at rest. Well, and as the rain keeps falling, the puddles keep growing. So I'm terrible at this racetrack, so I don't know whether the turns really are and what year I would normally be in them, to get around them. So I don't know whether I'm one gear down or I'm about right. I must do a lot more laps on this track so I can get to know it. But it's pretty frustrating when you go out there and you run off and you've built a fence. Oops, this will show you, see? So, you know, it's not ridiculously uncontrollable. If you get yourself in a bit of bother, you can get it back, but you've got to be smart about it. You can't just whip the steering back around because you're going to end up going straight ahead. You can't just plant your foot either. I don't know what other cars are like, but you can't just plant your foot. You've got to ease it on. You can feel it slipping. Funny to say feel it, but you do. You feel it slipping. Again, I don't know the racetrack, so I'm not too sure where I would normally be around this section. I watch some people on this racetrack and I don't know how they remember it all. Must just drive it. So you can see the water laying in the middle there, on the inside. You hit that, you're going to know all about it. So you've got to change what you would normally do. Through here you might normally be taking those curves, but at the moment they got water laying up against them, so you wouldn't want to. Again, I'm learning the racetrack still, so being a little bit ginger through there. I'm sort of half pushing that against a track that we would all know, like Watkins Glen or something, but this is giving us more of a feel for what rain's going to be like with various terrains. And when I say terrains, I mean ups and downs. We've got long sweeping turns, we've got tight turns, we've got uphill, we've got, you know, descents, ascents, descents, and so we're getting a feel. We've got turns that even I don't know the racetrack very well. We've got turns that I do know that we can take quite often at full throttle. You can't with the wet. Plus the lines that we would normally take on a dry racetrack, totally different to the wet racetrack and wet tyres. See, normally here would be right down there, but that would upset it you and it would fill in the car behind as well. Also, vision ahead is of interest. Normally you can see right to the end of this straight and we know exactly where we are. At the moment we're only seeing, well, a few hundred metres ahead. So it's pretty good, I must admit. I'm pretty impressed with the quality. See, there's water laying on the inside there where we would normally clip that on the way through. And you need to start slowing down early. We know it tightens up through here. I'm not too sure whether I may be slowing down a little early, but it is the first run in wet conditions for me on a track that I don't really know. I always miss that turn. So I think that's pretty much completes one full lap in the wet, and to be blatantly honest, it's fun and it's well done. And I think naysayers like myself will be eating our words when we didn't think that this was going to be a worthwhile addition to the iRacing service and the sim. I fear that it's going to perhaps create some safety rating issues for people. There you go, in that puddle there. Especially when you get especially if people, oops, terrible at this track, especially if people forget that it's a sim and forget that I need to change the way that they do things. Things got to be a little bit different. You need to be a little more careful, and the tyres change and the grip increases as you go, as you get along. I feel as you get some heat into those tyres, you can feel that they are gripping a little bit better now than they were on the opening of the first lap. We've even got the sound of the water hitting up inside the inner guards. Very good. Very clever stuff indeed. I don't know whether you would normally take first through here, but to avoid an embarrassing moment, I took first gear. Now, so I always forget that this is a fairly swift part of the racetrack. Don't want to get too close there. There's build up of water. Build up of water on the inside. I'll be a little cautious here. This is a rotten turn which I always get wrong and end up in the wall over there. Off track again. So that's just me not knowing the racetrack. It's got nothing to do with the weather conditions. But I think it's pretty good. So I did actually make a comment a couple of weeks ago that I didn't think it was necessary, that we had enough challenges at the moment for our safety rating with people who don't treat the sim as a sim and treat it as an arcade game. But now, having seen it and experienced it predominantly on my own, let's face it, we're not in a race situation as yet. It's a good addition, and well done to the sim racing team to hold back and get it right, and I think they have got it right. You see front hanging on a bit better now, there's some heat in the tyres. And I'm getting a little braver here. Not brave enough to hit it too hard. So here's the water running across the road. You see the spray out the back increases as you go over it. Another puddle. We go through the puddle, and you can feel it as you go through as well. You can feel it through the steering, and boom. And that's where I'll call it quits. To be honest, they've done a very good job of this, a very good job of it. I'm very impressed, and I'll be praising them up, I think, for a while now, because I think they've done a pretty good job of building it up. Let's have a quick look here as we go out on what I think was our first lap, and no real incidents, but as you can see, we do have a bit going on. That was after the first one. Oops, shouldn't show that. So you can see a few incidents that have been going on in this practice session. So there are a few people are being challenged. There's a Toyota going around, and we managed to get around him. So, pretty impressed all the way around with what we've got here, and I think we can all be impressed and quite happy with what we're going to experience. And as I say, to the team at Sim Racing, at iRacing, you've done a good job. The Nordschleife Industrial Farten track, I hate it, I'm no good at it, Nürburgring as they call it, but it is a lot of fun to run around and circulate around with. Also something I'm not sure that I mentioned it, but the fact that the rain coming down and hitting the windscreen is very impressive as well. So well done to iRacing. I think you've done the job very well, and we thank you. It's going to make for some interesting racing later, you can guarantee.